Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
Okay, we're here on Daf Kuf Nun Daled, right here in the middle. V'hamuvan. And we're talking about the second meal of Shabbos. And what is the middle of Shabbos, I guess you could say? The first meal on the Shabbos day, which many of us don't have at our normal lunch time. Some people do. Some people wait till later to have their main Shabbos meal. Maybe they have a breakfast at some point before, but many of us have this meal even earlier because we didn't have breakfast, so it comes right after Shabbos. This second meal represents that time of Shabbos, that there's an elevation. We took a step up from what we started on Leil Shabbos, and we took a step up from that. So I'm starting here right in the middle of Kuf Nun Daled, B'hamuvan. Dinei Kosav Tour. The Shloishes Chelke Shabbos Hem Keneged Shloishes Shabbosos Olam. Very interesting. The tour, just as an aside point, the tour was the second major halacha sefer. Actually, you shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that because there are actually a number of halacha svarim written. The Rif sefer is considered to be like a halacha sefer. The Bal halachas gedolos, which are also even before the Rif. But of the major halacha sefers that are learned keseder, that people actually you learn all the time, the Rambam, and then is the Torah. And in fact, the Shulchan Aruch is based on the Torah. So you would think that the Torah is just a halachic work. But really, when you read the Torah, there is so much Musaf and hashkafa behind it, so much written in there. It's really quite remarkable when you read it. There's a lot of Musaf and hashkafa in the Torah, even though it was written as a halacha sefer. When you look at the Shulchan Aruch, there are many simanim in the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch is based after the Torah. The simanim of the Shulchan Aruch are based on the simanim of the Torah. But you'll look at some simanim in the Shulchan Aruch, and the whole thing will be like a half a line, one line long. For example, in the beginning of Hilchas Milah, if you look in the Shulchan Aruch, the first siman in Hilchas Milah, I think is one line long. But if you look in the Torah, he goes on a long arichos in it. So which one came first? The Torah. The Torah came first. The Shulchan Aruch wrote a parish on the Torah called the Beis Yosef. And in that siman, the Torah writes about the greatness of Bris Milah at great length. So the Torah writes a lot of hashkafa in his sefer. So here is an example of one of them. Hinei Kosav Torah. The Torah also, by the way, is the son of the Rosh. So a lot of his halacha comes based on his father, on the Rosh, but not always. So the Torah writes, the Shloishes Chelkei Shabbos Hem Keneged Shloishes Shabbosos Olam. The three parts of Shabbos represents the three historically significant Shabbosos in the history of the world. First of all, Shabbos Bereshis, which was, as we're basing everything off of, the shorish of our emunah, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created everything from nothing, as we spent a lot of time talking about. The second, Shabbos Matan Torah. Even though there's a machlokas in the Gemara exactly when Matan Torah happened, which day it happened, but everyone agrees that it was on Shabbos. Everyone agrees that it was on Shabbos, and we mentioned this in the past as well, that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah, it had to go through the gateway of Shabbos. Because if there's going to be a Gilui Shechina like that, it has to come through Shabbos. So that's the second. The Shabbos lo osid lobo yom shekudo Shabbos. The Olam Haba when the whole existence will be Shabbos. This is the Torah says, based on these three Shabbosos, that's how also the three different tefillahs are mechalek like that, which we've discussed in the past, and the three sudas. V'hinei, ma hebdo ben Gilui Shechina b'maisa bereishis and Gilui Shechina shel Matan Torah. You can ask, what's the difference between how HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself on the first Shabbos of creation, which, by the way, was after Adam Rishon sinned already. Adam Rishon was already thrown out of Gan Eden before the first Shabbos, right? And between that Gilui Shechina and the Gilui Shechina of Matan Torah, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself when he gave the Torah. What's the difference? Ma'aseh Bereshis muchiach bebehirus gemura as yichud Hashem. When it came to Ma'aseh Bereshis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed with clarity that he is the only one. When he made creation, everything is based on him, and everything comes from him. There was clear, there is one God. And he is the true oneness of all of existence. Hashamayim misaprim k'voy kel. The heavens will tell of the grandeur, the glory, the honor of Hashem. Umayse yodo magida rekia. And his work will be told over by the rekia. I think our scroll translated as firmament, which doesn't really mean so much to me, but l'chayr, what it means is that the power that Shamayim stays up there and doesn't fall down and doesn't mix up the whole world is because of Kadosh Baruch Hu said, stop. And that's what Rashi says in Parshas Bereshis, that it's standing there in fear of the word of Hashem. And that's what the Rakia is. That the Shamayim is solid there and doesn't move. That's the Rakia. Right? So the Rakia will tell of the greatness, the work of his hand. Meaning creation itself will testify to the greatness of Hashem. Aval lo roim derech ma'aseh bereshis as a kedusha atzma. This is a very interesting line where Pinka says we don't see through ma'aseh bereshis the inherent kedusha of Hashem, the greatness of Hashem, the power of Hashem, the oneness of Hashem. We do see in bereshis, in ma'aseh bereshis, but the kedusha we don't. Sheshamayim va'aretz la'atzmam eino chetza shel kedusha. The creation itself is not an aspect of kedusha. What does kedusha mean? Just a review so we can understand. Kedusha means something is set apart and elevated. Shamayim va'aretz is not set apart. It is existence. It is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu created as the base. It's not set apart. Set apart means we have the base and we have something that's special. Something that's elevated, something that's separated because it's extra special. We're just starting with the base. So the base proves that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the creator and has all the power. And that is what creation is. But it doesn't show the unique elevation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rak shetoicham mochiach al kedusha. What inside of creation, we can find kedusha. We can get kedusha. Meaning, is it there? Is there kedusha in all these things? Yes. But is it clear, the kedusha? No, not necessarily. This is why, unfortunately, throughout the world, you can find people who can study the amazing cosmos, the amazing bria that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created, and be the biggest kofrim. The biggest atheists are the ones who study science and see what an amazing world HaKadosh Baruch Hu created. Because even though there is kedusha there, it's hidden. It's not so blatant. It's not so clear that the kedusha is there. Yeah, you'd have to be either blind or very, very biased in order not to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the amazing bria. Most people fall into this category are biased, obviously. But because it's not boom right in front of your face, so they have that ability. They have that ability to deny and not to see that the kedusha. The ma'asim are right there in front of our eyes, but to bring out the specialness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in it, that's not so clear. That's not so clear. But when it came to the Shabbos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah, when Klal Yisrael said, we want to see our king. Moshe Rabbeinu said, Hashem was ready to give you the Torah. He could give you Torah and mitzvahs. And I'm going to bring it to you. And the Klal Yisrael said, no, not good enough. We want to get it straight. We want to get it straight from our king. Zochu kulam lirois kevodo. All of Klal Yisrael got to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What exactly that was and how they all survived. I think they died and they had tchias amazing thing. Zochu kulam lirois kevodo yisbarach ba'aspak lara bi'ira kenevuas Moshe. They're able to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whatever that means. Again, even Moshe Rabbeinu, the Torah says, Moshe Rabbeinu cannot see the face, whatever that means, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Torah says that straight. But whatever Moshe was able to see, all of Klal Yisrael was able to see in that moment of Matan Torah. Clarity, complete clarity in front of your eyes that cannot be denied. The Pasuk says, Hashem spoke to you face to face. It's the same thing like Moshe. Damar Hashem Moshe panim al panim. He spoke, like Kodesh Baruch Hu spoke to Moshe panim al panim. V'chein l'doros kasher loimdim et haTorah kedosha. And for generations, when we learn the Torah, hu b'dibur echad. When we are learning the words of Torah, it's like HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaking to us. That's what it is. Maybe we should think about that. You don't have to think about it when you're working on Tosfos, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is speaking to me. But that's really what it is. Maybe before we start learning, we should think about that. When I'm saying the words and I'm learning the words of Torah, whether it be Shnai Mikra or Mishnayis or Gemara or Halacha or whatever you're learning, it's like HaKadosh Baruch Hu is talking to you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, tell me what to do. Tell me. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. No. Yes. No, I want a nevuah. This is better than nevuah. This is panim al panim. This is exactly what I'm saying. This is what I want you to do. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu talking to us. When we're davening, we get to talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when we're learning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks to us. And that's what we say every day. I think I mentioned this in the past, but we say every day in Mariv. We say, Avos Olam, Amcha Hafta, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have such a love for us. You love us so much. What shows your love? Chukim Mishpatim Osanu Limata. You gave us the Torah. That shows how much you love us. It's through the Torah that you are showing your love to us. And that's why we return back and we say, so we're going to take that Torah. Kihem Chayenu V'Orech Yameinu. We're going to be Isaac in the Torah because we want to accept that love. This is the relationship. The Torah is the relationship between us and the Kadosh Baruch Hu. He's telling us exactly, I want you to do this because I love you. That's what we're saying in that bracha. That's what the Torah is. We have the complete clarity. And that came from Kabbalah Torah, from the Shabbos of the Kabbalah Torah. This is the upgrade. The upgrade from Kedushas Leil Shabbos to Yom Shabbos. It's like the difference between night and day. At night, when you meet somebody, let's say you can't see, it's very dark, but you can hear. And you start talking to the person, you realize, oh, I know who you are. I can't see you, but I know who you are. I know who I'm talking to, but you don't have that complete clarity. You don't see him, but I know he's there. But when it's daytime, you can see who's there. I can recognize you. That's a closer relationship. The dugma, communication is many times, or most of communication is actually nonverbal. Right? There's a lot of ways when two people are talking to each other or communicating with each other. There's a lot that goes into the communication. The lowest form of communication by far is texting. Because in texting, you have almost no form of communication except for one. Except if you put in some emojis here and there, I guess you could, you make some googly eye face, whatever. But really, you have a text, you have a message that you're trying to send. How are you trying to show your emotion behind it? Through an emoji, through you can tell from the way it's written, it was meant to be sarcastic. It was meant to be sincere. It's very hard to tell when you have a text. A level above that would be on the phone, because you can hear a tone. You can hear somebody, can hear their tone, but you still don't see their body language. Body language is a major part of communication. Hey, but you don't have that. And then the next level up is actually, talking to somebody face to face. I'll tell you, when I teach, during Corona, it was the hardest thing for me to do shurim like online. It was very, very hard. I know some people don't have a hard time with it, but I feel like there's a lack of personal kesher. People do therapy online. People do have, and for some people it works great. I have a very hard time with it because I feel like it's just not personal. I don't feel like I feel like I'm looking at a screen, not at a person. Right? It's a higher level up. It's a level of making a stronger connection because you're communicating in a much stronger way. So that's the same thing over here. Shabbos, I can see, I can understand that it's true, but I don't actually see it in front of my eyes. Shabbos day, all of a sudden, now I see it. I don't have to I don't have to be logical about it. I can actually see it. Now he's going to bring a mashal to this here in Ois Beis. He's going to bring a mashal. Let's try to understand this through a very important fundamental when it comes to emunah. When we're talking about the general ideas behind emunah, there are two levels. One is above the other. Now, let's bring a mashal from our world. Let's say you have a guy who's never seen a car before. Doesn't know what a car is, right? It doesn't sound like such a crazy thing. If you go back 100 years ago and you lived in a shtetl, it could be that you never did see a car. So it's not the craziest thing in the world, somebody who's never seen a car before. He sees this car go like it's where the horse is. What's pulling this car? How is it moving like that? So somebody comes and tells him, says, I'm going to teach you how this wagon moves. He shows him the gas pedal. When you press down on that, that's when it starts going really fast, when you press down on that. And he shows him the other one. That one stops it. If you're going too fast, you press down on that one and it stops it. And he shows the tell him, you see, this is the key. You have to turn the key. Well, nowadays you don't have to do that anymore. Now you just have to push the button. This is a little bit out of date, the safer, but Rapinkus only lived to the point where there were keys for cars, not then when you have to push a button. But okay. And he told him, okay, you have to turn the steering wheel like this. And maybe he showed him, you have to signal left and right so you don't get a ticket. Also that you should tell the people on the road which way you're going so that they're careful. And he told him all these things. And then he said to him, you think there's something I haven't shown you yet? I'm going to show you something very important. Inside this box that moves by itself, you should know, even though you don't see it, there's an engine. There's an engine on the inside here. That is what really makes this car move. That thing. You have to have the engine. You don't have the engine, this thing won't move. You can press on the gas pedal all you want. You can turn the steering wheel all you want. But you know what? It's not going to move. Nothing will move without the engine. Like, what does it do? What's it special? It makes the whole thing run. What do you mean? But what does it do? Why do you need it? You already showed me. This is what makes it move. This is what makes it turn. I already have all the answers to all the questions. What do I need this thing called the engine for? What do I need it? Why do we need this extra thing? What do you need it for? The person who showed him the car said, Why do you care? Why do you care? Tamini, just trust me. Just trust me. Why does it make a difference to you? Just trust me. You should know that there's an engine. Everything is dependent on that. It will only run if you have that thing. Sounds like it's a condition. By the way, the car will only run if you have something called an engine. It's just a condition. You just know. It's not the most important part of the car. It's just a tanai, right? It's just a condition. So you need this thing called the engine. And without it, this thing will not move. So believe me. Okay, I believe you. I trust you. There's something called an engine in the inside. Afterward, they say to him, I'm going to show you. You think you're such a smart guy? You're not so smart. Do you really think that this car can move on its own? Do you really think that? What, you think that just pressing down on this pedal can make this car go so fast, 60 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour, 150 miles per hour? You think so? It doesn't make any sense. I go like this. I push down, so then all of a sudden it moves. Like I can push down a lot of things, nothing happens. So what? Just I take this piece of metal and I push on it. Was it magic? It can't be. It doesn't make any sense. It must be there's another power over here. Musaf amapilet kallah niflosai. There must be there's something else that's really doing this. Hahu hevin einyan v'halach v'sipar lemishu acher. He went and he told somebody else. Ri'iti et hamechonit. You see this car? Inside the box over here in the front or in the back, depending on what kind of car it was, right? There's something called a manoah. Shoelo. And somebody asked him, did you actually see that there's an engine? That you're so convinced that there's an engine over here? Did you actually see it? He told you a story. He told you a story that there's such a thing called an engine. He told you a story. Maybe he lied to you. How do you know? You know that there's really an engine over here. You trust him. You never knew about this thing, and he just made up things. He just made up stories. Even when he told you, did you really believe him? What convincing? What's convincing you that there's an engine? Ha'im eincha begeder petty, or are you such a fool? Ma'amin l'kol davar, you believe everything that everybody tells you? You're such a gullible guy. You actually think that there's this magical thing called an engine? Hare roiba olam mishapim. Don't you know most people lie? Ubetach hahu gam kein shikar lecha. This guy also lied to you. He made up a whole story over here. So he says back. Oina lo arishon. The guy who was showed this answers back. You're right. In the beginning, I just trusted him. But after he explained it to me, I said to him, you know what? Maybe you're lying. Maybe there is no manoah. Lo aman lo. I'm not gonna believe him. Shekvar ani mevin levad she'ef shabim mitzius. Excuse me. Shekvar ani mevin levad she'ef shabim mitzius shetisah mechoniz hashokelet k'ma'at ton v'mehirat shel 100 kilometer l'shah mebli she'eh eze koyach adir mabulata. He says, I think about it for a second. How is it possible that such a heavy machine can move so fast that it's going 100 kilometers per hour without anything that's pushing it? With just like taking a piece of metal and pushing down on it. How could that be? It doesn't make any sense. How could it be? I took a piece of metal and I pressed on it, and all of a sudden it moves like that. Me'ata imahu she'emantulo av yishba li b'sefer Torah v'av yimsor et chayav ala emes she'ein manoah bar lo amin lo. But now that I thought about it, and I saw how it doesn't make any sense that there has to be something else here. So even if that guy would come over to me and say, you know what, I lied to you. I made the whole thing up. There is no engine. Haha, I fooled you the whole time. And even if he would swear on a Sefer Torah that there is no engine in there, I wouldn't believe him anymore. I understand it myself that it has to be that way. I'm not trusting him anymore. I actually thought about it. And I actually realized that it just doesn't make any sense at all. That this thing can run by pressing down on a little piece of metal. It doesn't make any sense. There has to be something else behind it. So even if he would come along and say, no, there's no engine, it just works like, pressing down on the metal, I would say to him, I don't believe you. Because I know that it's so true, it's as if I saw it. Right? That they say, in the past, I've heard this concept called five-finger clarity. What's five-finger clarity? Five-finger clarity means you look at your hand, right? You have 5 fingers. You have 5 fingers on your hand. Now I put my hand away. Now I'm hiding my hand. And I say, how many fingers do I have on my hand? Right? Well, you have 5 fingers on your hand, right? Are you sure? You can't see it. You can't see it. You don't actually see it. So how do you know that you have 5 fingers? Or like, let's say that you have a seesaw, right? But half the seesaw is up and the other half you can't see. It's being blocked by a wall. But you see there's a kid sitting on a seesaw and he's up in the air. But you can't see what's on the other side. So you say to yourself, wow, that must be magic. How in the world is that kid up there? It's crazy. Wow. This guy should be like on the news, like the greatest magician ever. No, obviously there's something holding down the other side. I don't know if it's another kid. I don't know if it's a big rock. I don't know if it's bolted to the ground, but there's something holding it up on the other side. It's not possible. It can't be like that. So I might not be able to see it, but I have such clarity that that's the way it has to be. And this is the same thing with this guy. It's impossible. You can't tell me that the car is running without a motor. It's as if I saw it. He actually didn't see it, but it has to be that way. There is an engine to this vehicle. It's impossible. There is no way for this to run. That it runs as fast as a deer. Now we're running out of time over here, but he's gonna bring another mashal. We'll bring it up next week. The idea that he's trying to bring out over here, and we're gonna go through it a little bit more next week. The idea that he's trying to bring out over here is that's what's happening by Shabbos day. In the beginning, we might have logic. We might be able to figure things out. But the clarity, that 5-finger clarity, that of course it has to be this way. It's so clear. It may not have seen it, but I have such clarity that this is truth. That is the upgrade from Friday nights, from Leil Shabbos to Shabbos day. And it's something that Hashem put into Shabbos. So we need to try to grab onto that. We need to try to figure out, how can I get to a greater level of clarity of emunah and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and as we move through Shabbos, as we get to the later part of Shabbos, because it's there. Hashem put it into Shabbos that as you go through Shabbos, the opportunity for understanding emunah and understanding higher level of kedusha is there in Shabbos. And that's what's represented by the second Su'udah of Shabbos. But okay, we're out of time for today. We'll have to continue this next week.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Eli Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.